discovered the house next door was occupied by something not human. Something horrifying. Something unspeakably evil. No one believes you.
Mom, I didn't have a nightmare.
Not your mom.
They did kill a girl over there.
Not your girlfriend.
Charlie, is this some sort of trick to get me back?
Not even the police.
Look, I know it's crazy. I know that, but look, Lieutenant!
It knows that you know. You'll do anything to protect yourself. But it will do anything to protect its secret.
So let's welcome them from the cast of Fright Night, Chris Sarandon, Amanda Bierce, William Ragsdale, and Stephen Jeffries. You guys can do better than that. Okay. Come on. There you go. Nice. What's a first?
Standing O.
I think it was well worth it. Excellent. So welcome. It's so nice to have you all here. We can start with questions if you'd like to say a few things to get started, whatever you're comfortable with.
Questions?
I've already said a few things, I think.
Okay. Well, if you have a question, just raise your hand.
Michelle.
So I take Michelle has a question.
Superfan Michelle.
Okay, Superfan Michelle.
Right here.
All right.
Before I ask my question, Chris and Stephen, you both have famous lines. Can we hear them?
My doctor, I have like kind of a spasm in my vocal cords, and he warned. The last time I did that, I really did kind of split. So I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I have a spasm in my personality.
And there's a microphone for you too.
I'd rather not. We're here to answer questions.
Yeah, it's a good call.
Okay. You both, actually all four of you have very pivotal and very, famous scenes throughout the whole movie. With, of course, you and Chris with that sexy dancing scene. And then you have, of course, with you and Roddy when you were giving him the courage to kill the vampire. And then for Stephen, when you turned into the werewolf and then you changed back. Those are my favorite scenes. So what are your favorite scenes?
I usually say that my favorite scene is the one where we all go and sort of confront the vampire in his house in the living room there, because it's kind of the first. In reality, that was one of the few days that we were actually all working together at the same time on the same set. So that was fun because we got to really get to know each other and play around and stuff all that day. And it's a really good scene because it's kind of this apex of the plot about what's going to happen, whether it's going to end right there or if it's going to continue. And the great little bit where Roddy drops his cigarette case on the floor and the mirror becomes this key part of the plot, where suddenly now I'm not the only one believing someone else. So I like that scene.
That's a good one.
It is.
I'll tag on to
agree.
that because it was rare when we were all together. Every scene, it's so interesting because it's 31 years ago now. But I don't remember much at all anymore. But I remember that film, and I have a memory of when I've watched it again, of some experience of making that scene. And I think that says something, that it just really, it penetrated my life. It was a wonderful start. It was new, I was new in my career. And then for it to have the longevity that it's had because of all of you, it's, everything about it, every scene is really a good memory.
And question back there. Raise your hands. There you go. And behind him too. The next two questions.
This is for Chris. This has something to do with Fright Night, but what was it like playing as Jack Skellington and working for Tim Burton?
Terrific. Tim didn't direct the movie, as I think most of you know. Henry Selick did, who also directed James and the Giant Peach, Coraline, a number of other really extraordinary movies. And Tim came in at the very end, and he and I worked a little bit in the studio, just massaging some lines in the ADR studio, and he's a lovely guy. I had a great time working with him.
I just want to say thank you for an iconic movie. I mean, 35 years and here we are still celebrating it. This is for you guys. What was it like working with Roddy McDowall and kind of gearing up? What do you think of I think it was Colin Farrell who played the new vampire.
Colin Farrell.
Colin Farrell. What do you think of his performance?
Firstly, with Roddy, he was a wonderful, generous, funny, extraordinarily knowledgeable person, and for someone who's, like all of us grows up watching movies, he knew everybody in the business and he knew stories about them, and so that educational part of it was as much fun as working with him professionally, because it was just like, before Google, he was kind of this movie Google guy. He could tell you everything about everyone and these experiences, and
he was IMDb.
He was IMDb before it existed.
RIMDb, Roddy IMDb.
But he was a great guy. He was a lot of fun, and Amanda has made this point a number of times that we three were pretty new at this, and he made us feel like an equal, like very much like a partner in this, and he was collaborative and welcoming and very accessible. So,
but I really looked down on all of them.
Oh yeah,
all to be callow and very difficult, and
and still.
And I kept saying, these kids, for God's sake, I have to work with these kids. But now I have my revenge because they're older.
He was really intimidating, Chris.
Yeah.
Flat right there.
It was my job.
We have the next question over here.
This is for Amy Evil Ed. There was a scene with Roddy McDowall when you were going to ask him for help. And you smacked Evil Ed, and you're like, oh, Amy, But it looks like you guys had not issues with the scene. You had a lot of fun. It looked like you guys were trying not to crack up. So I'm just wondering, do you remember anything about that? How many times it took to do that scene? Because that's like one of my favorite parts, just because you can kind of see a smirk on both of your faces, even though it's a serious part.
Well, first of all, I think that speaks to the character that you were playing. Is we weren't taking it really seriously. We were and we weren't. I can't take him seriously. But then I think actually in that scene, Amy is very serious about trying to get help for Charlie. Yeah, but I don't think it was like a bloopers kind of thing. I think it was really kind of living the moment, and I don't recall having to do it a lot of times or anything. Do you?
No, I mean, it was a really kind of fun scene. It wasn't too deep, at least for me. And, here we were doing a scene with Roddy McDowall. It's like, how much better can that get? So it was, it was one of the more pleasant,
light in spirit.
Yeah.
But then there was that moment at the end when he asked me a pointed question. Why are you doing this or something? And I say, because I love him, But it was really it had a lightness of being. So, yeah. No, you picked up on the vibe. I like to hit Steve.
It's always fun to hit somebody. Can I add something to this gentleman's question, or the lady's question in the back, because I didn't answer it, and that is, you asked about Colin Farrell, who I did a little cameo in the reimagining of Fright Night, which is the way they described it. Craig Gillespie, the director, and everybody involved. And Colin couldn't have been, first of all, he was very nervous doing it again, because it was one of his favorite movies when he was growing up, and he watched it. He said he and his sister watched it like 50, 60 times at least. And he came to my trailer when I first arrived and came in the door nervous, brought me some presents, brought me an amazing bottle of wine, a box set of the Carl Dreyer Vampire, and he was extraordinarily nice, and the whole cast was. And they were all nervous about this sort of reboot of the movie. And I think they tried to see it as something that is the basic plot, but try to see it as something new, rather than trying to redo the old movie.
It just wasn't promoted that way. And really, when Chris said that it was a reimagining of the original, that made so much more sense. And if they had promoted it that way, then I think the expectation might have been different. Because as a standalone film, it was quite good. He was quite good. But it just doesn't have a relationship to the original.
No, it's not the same movie.
We've got a question up front here.
Hi, this question is for Amanda. What was your favorite episode to direct on Married with Children?
I love working with Christina Applegate, and she and I always had a good time together. So there was one episode where she was a waitress, and Married with Children did a lot of montages, things where there was no dialogue, it was just all action, and I think there were several in that one. But she just went for it. She's a brave comedian. She doesn't care what she looks like. She just goes for the funny. And so that would probably be one of the ones that I recall. Yeah.
Question for you right here.
I'm Tom. I was wondering though about Chris and Steven. How long did it take you to get in your makeup?
The end makeup in the movie where Jerry is in full Nosferatu drag. It took 8 hours. I go in at 4 a.m. in the morning. I'm a little tired. Went in at 4 a.m. in the morning. Kenny Diaz, who was the FX makeup guy for the movie, had been sleeping in the trailer all night, and he slept in a little cubby up above where we would work. And I'd walk in and I'd look around and I'd go, where the hell is Ken? For God's sake, I'm here at 4 o'clock in the morning. Where is he? And suddenly I'd hear,
Hey, come on, let's go! Wanna go? Let's go, make up, hey, huh?
He was nuts. He was really nuts. And he always had a flask that he would go, okay, let's go. And of rum, I think, as I recall. Do you guys? No.
Anyway, 5 minutes, so
it was a bear. It was tough. Stephen?
Yeah, there were other substances on the set. When I was doing they gave, something like a Salmonex or something. When I sat in the chair to be the transformation scene, which it's been so long. It's like 14, 18 hours where they put all the lines and hairs and everything all over me, and it just felt really inhumane. I mean, it was there was nothing fun about it. I hate to say, but of course it turned out great. When I was sitting in the theater looking at it, it was like, well, it wasn't all that bad. But it was grueling.
But I think you'll all agree, particularly in Stephen's case, that that makeup and that special effect of that scene was just extraordinary. It really was.
And that's way before CGI. Everything was practical.
Everything was crafted. Everything was makeup, cuts, editing, cutting away from you to Roddy and then cutting back to you.
Question for you over here.
First, I just wanted to commend all of you. Fright Night's been one of my favorite movies ever since I saw it. And so my question is for Amanda. Ever since I was 5, I've always had this question. Whenever Amy transforms into a vampire, why does her hair change?
That's a question you'd have to ask Tom Holland.
Tom's idea, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think it was just whatever was drastic. And I think they just wanted something radical. Maybe he's got a thing for redheads, I don't know. But she, little by little, and I was speaking with somebody earlier today about the subtlety in her wardrobe changing once I met Jerry on the dance floor, changed, and I was just happy to get that bow out of my hair. And then all of a sudden I'm in a white dress and I have red hair. So go figure, and orange eyes. But it's fun. It's it's going along with the fantasy. It's suspending disbelief. It's and obviously it had an effect. Yeah. You got anything going on?
It made it a lot easier. We already knew each other, and
Well, he said, I'm doing this in his little Stephen voice, I'm doing this little horror movie. It's called Fright Night. I said, really? Me too. It really was that. It was just kind of fluky. Had no idea that was happening. Yeah, it was. Fraternity vacation, oh my gosh.
Jackie Birch, did she cast that? I think Jackie Birch, who cast, did she do Fraternity Vacation?
What was her? I'll think of it. She did the first Heidi. No, wait. She did the first Nightmare movie.
Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah. Real crazy.
Oh, yeah.
All right, question for you right over here.
So this is a question about the scene where you go to confront Jerry, and it always perplexed me, and maybe I'm hoping you can tell me why Tom Holland decided for you, Chris, to do this. But there's a scene where you take the vial with the holy water, and you put it by the fire as if to discern if it's blessed. And then you drink it, but you question, are you sure this is holy water? So why these sort of seeming inconsistency? Was it planned? Why did you do it? Because I know that you improvised. Like, for example, Jerry enjoying fruit, he was part fruit bat. So maybe was that part of you, or why the putting it by the fire?
I'm recalling some 30, how many years ago? 31 years ago. But my recollection is that, and I don't know that, was it established earlier that it was real holy water?
It's not.
It's not.
Yeah.
So I think what it is it shows Jerry being able to discern whether it is or not, and then going, oh, okay, I'll screw around with these guys a little bit, and then it takes the turn that it takes. That's my interpretation.
See, I always thought when I see it that you're not 100% sure. There's like something you're trying to discern from it. And there's a little hesitation when you ask him.
I got to watch the movie again, I guess. I haven't seen it in a long time.
And then
I think you're right. He's right.
Yeah.
Don't pay any attention to me.
When you ask Roddy, are you sure it's holy water? He says, it's all Father Scanlon or whatever, Blessed Tennessee Mary. Yeah.
Dramatic pause.
Thank you for saving me. Question for you, Matt.
I don't really have a question, but I just want to say that I loved your movie since I was like 14, and I always wanted Jerry Dandridge to move in beside me.
You'd have been in
Security. This one, that one. That's the one we're talking about.
I want to know who your real estate agent is.
This question is for Chris.
You're in trouble.
This question is for Chris. One of my favorite movies you've done was The Resurrected. It was based on a Lovecraft story. Can you tell us a little bit about that movie and your memories of that?
Memories of it are as usual with me, a little hazy. The movie was it was an odd kind of movie to make because Dan O'Bannon, who directed it and who wrote Alien, the first Alien film, was primarily a screenwriter. I don't know if Dan had directed anything else prior to, and actually I had a conversation with somebody earlier today about this. That at the time we were making the movie, Dan was ill, so he had a hard time through the whole shoot, and a lot of the slack was sort of taken up by assistant directors and the cast, kind of making decisions on the fly. But it wasn't that he was not involved, but I do remember him being rather ill at the time. And the movie itself it's a strange movie. It's really strange. Well, it's Lovecraft. And it's, flesh-eating and, going back in time, and it's a pretty weird picture. But it has a real following. I know a lot of people who come up to me and who are Lovecraft fans who say this is one of the more accurate Lovecraft movies they've seen, so I have to accept that. And from what I understand, the only sort of re-edition of it that exists now were made by a German company. Box set of the movie that is all in, all the commentaries in German. So if there's anybody here who knows anything about speaking German, reading German, let me know.
Okay, let's get a few more in.
I actually have a question for William. Back in the early fledgling days of Fox Network, you were starring in a new sitcom called Herman's Head. And just wanted to see if you could share some stories about that, your thoughts about that.
Yeah, it was a sitcom that was sort of in the early days, as you said, and it was. I read it and I thought it was pretty original, and so I just auditioned for it like a lot of other people, and ended up doing it, and it was great. It was pretty quirky and had quite a small but loyal following, and it was a good experience.
And a rather strange coincidence, somebody who was in that show, Jane Sibbett, was in The Resurrected with me.
Oh, ooh, whoa. That just happened?
Two shades of...
Touche.
All right, another question for you over here.
Hi, this is for Chris. Is it true that you were in a soap opera?
My very first job when I went to New York was on The Guiding Light. Yeah, I played... I remember the character's name. His name was Dr. Tom Halverson. And Dr. Halverson spoke, let's see, 3 words in every episode that I was in. I was always in there in the pre-op room scrubbing as the main character, the main doctor came in, and whoever it was, or the doctors, I would go, "Good morning, Dr. Halverson," whatever the guy's name, and there we go, "Good morning, Dr. Halverson." That was it. I never said anything else. And it paid my rent for at least like 6-8 months. When I first got to New York, it allowed me to rent an apartment when I got there. And then after that, I got a Broadway show, and I opted out of being on The Guiding Light, and then I got a couple of more shows, and that was it. But it was very fortuitous for me. Lucky, in a way, because it was like one of the first auditions I did when I went to New York.
My wife was watching the movie, and she saw you in it. She said, "Yeah, he was on The Guiding Light."
Oh my God. She must be as old as I am.
Dr. Halverson.
She's a cougar.
Halverson's a vampire.
Hi guys.
I had dishpan hands, by the way.
This I actually have a question for Chris. I had read, I wasn't sure if it was true, I wanted to ask you myself. Did you hesitate to accept the role of Jerry Dandridge at the beginning?
Not a second.
Even before you read the script?
Oh, before I read the script, when I got the script, and I on the cover, and it's Fright Night with these fangs coming down, and I said this often, at the time I was pretty full of myself. I'd done Tale of Two Cities for CBS Hallmark Hall of Fame, and I'd done a lot of stage work, and I was a serious actor. And so I looked at the cover of the script, and I said, I got a movie called Fright Night. Not me, Chris Sarandon, plus actor. And then I said, what the hell, I'll read this script. And immediately I said, I got to meet this guy. Because it is a great script. It's brilliantly constructed, first of all. It's a timeless story. It does something with the vampire genre that had not been done heretofore, but before that, because at that time, and it was one of the reasons why I think Tom got into it, was because the vampire genre had become kind of tired. They were making not satires of vampire movies, but takeoffs of vampire, Love at First Bite, stuff like that, where they were making fun of the genre. And this movie was fun, but it was not making fun of the genre, it was having fun with it. And that's a big distinction to me. And it was very appealing. I immediately said, I got to meet this guy. I flew to California, I met with Tom, and Herb Jaffe, the producer. Tom sat down and described each shot of the film from the beginning to the end, and after that I just said, let's go, let's do this. So the answer is yes and no.
Another question right here.
Hello. I know, Chris, that you had an interesting backstory for Jerry, fruit bad, love story and whatnot. I was wondering if you could expand upon that, and also the rest of the cast, if you had any interesting things in your backstories that you would like to share.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of you have heard this, how do you research a vampire? And I did, reading about Vlad the Impaler, and I looked at I looked at Nosferatu and Vampire, the more sort of classic vampire movies that came, and Dracula, the original, the Bela Lugosi, and the sequels. And I did some reading, and I thought, well, okay, genetics, bat, let's check this out, and discovered that there were very few vampire bats in the world, that like 10% of the bats in the world are vampires, that most are fruit-eating bats. So that's where the whole idea of eating fruit came from, and Tom loved it and went with it. And then the Amy backstory was just a thought I had as I was creating this, because I'd read that scene, obviously, and I just said to Tom, what if Amy is a physical ghost that is visually a ghost from his past, someone that he was in love with centuries ago. And Tom liked the idea, and then we had the portrait commissioned and used it in the scene. So Tom was great that way. But basically, we didn't do a lot of screwing around with script, right?
No, but we had the luxury of rehearsal, which is unusual, and we did write backstories during that time. Mine, for instance, was fairly straightforward. I didn't go into the fantastical part at all because I felt like she was taken on that journey as opposed to having any sort of pre-knowledge of it. But it was a standard who I was, who my parents were, what my family looked like, what my he was my first love. What did that mean to me? Because it was at a time when talking about sexual exploration was a little more sort of out there. It's couched or just told in a different way. But it's just what you write it and then you let it go, because it's something you just arrive with, and it's in there, but you don't really pay a lot of attention to it. At least I didn't for that particular character. I was much older. I was 26, playing 17, and that afforded me the role because of the arc that the character has to go through. But it's very easy to get that. I mean, it wasn't that long to get in touch with that part of myself. But it was a great exercise. It still is for every actor.
And usually this is the kind of work that actors do on their own, because most directors don't say, let's sit around and talk about this, go home, let's do a backstory for everybody, and then let's talk through, let's rehearse. But Tom was an actor before he was a director and a writer, and so he allowed us that luxury, which doesn't happen very often in the movies.
Got time for one more question.
Well, we actually have 2 questions right here.
Got time for 2 more questions.
Okay. William and Chris, well, they're rebooting the Wolfman, Universal, coming out, in making. And William, you could be a good Larry Tolbert self, because you look just like him.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm not sure what that. I don't know what. Is it? What was? Is that? Is that a
More of a statement.
Statement?
Rebooting the Wolfman, and you should be Larry Talbot.
Oh, okay. Done. I can't.
And here will be our last question.
Chris, yes, I wanted to confirm something. You were in a version of A Tale of Two Cities back in 1980.
You remember better than I do. Yes, I was. Yes.
Because
What was Dickens like? Was he?
Charlie?
I really enjoyed it because I was 14. Typical. Wasn't really interested in the classics or anything like that.
Yeah.
And saw the movie and just really got fired up and wanted to get into that. And so I just want to say thank you for.
Thank you, because it was a great experience. First of all, to get a chance to play both those roles and to play with myself, literally.
Right.
A couple of scenes where I actually did. Sorry. Okay, you guys. Calm down, and you too.
We've all enjoyed that, Chris.
I also wanted to say that you had one of my favorite lines in Fright. I forget the exact line, but it was something along the lines when they tried to use the cross on you, and you said something along the lines of, you have to have faith for that to work, Doctor.
Which is an example of the way Tom played with the genre a little bit, so that he ups the stakes, first of all, because you think, oh, the cross is going to work, it's going to, blow Jerry away, and the same with the holy water scene. So there were little conventions along the way that Tom adhered to on the one hand, but on the other hand sort of went, tweak it a little bit, yeah. Which is, again, having fun with it rather than making fun of it.
Well, thanks so much for doing this.
Thank you all.
You guys are headed back to your tables. Okay, back there. So if you haven't had a chance to ask a question or ask a question in private, they are heading back to their tables. It's Fright night. Come on, you guys. Thank you so much for doing this. little bit more as they head back to their tables, and you can get a photo, autograph, or just ask a question. Good job, guys. And coming up in a half hour is the Celebrity Quick Sketch. That's going to be a lot of fun.